Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special I Told You So edition. And I'm joined with Owain and Harrian. How are you? How are you two today? This
I'm
evening?
good, thank you. I'm very good. I'm here. I've had a haircut for the first time today. It's very nice. Well, the haircut
Nice,
for the first time in months. Very nice.
nice. I am also doing pretty well. I had a haircut last week done by my mother, so she basically shaved me. Just she only does
Wonderful.
one haircut. Yeah.
This is
Doing all right.
this is depressing already because now I'm now reminded that every time I look in the mirror, I look like the Unabomber.
Oh God.
I'm not even joking. I literally look at the side by side, the Netflix special side by side, and it's like, God, I look like exactly like him. So, and
Would you fit in with a certain anarchist? You reckon? With that look,
I probably, I mean, my hair's long enough now. I could probably pull off some like shitty white guy dreadlocks to get away with it. So yeah.
oh
Oh, talk about white guy dreadlocks. You know where you'll find a lot of those?
Yeah, Stokescroft lads.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, the reason I put this stream together is obviously, as people know, last Sunday, socialists rioted in pretty much Bristol's city centre, outside. Was it Bridewell Police Station?
Yeah, it's outside Broward Police Station next to Tiki. What was it? Tiki, something like that. That place, and it's like down the next to the was it the White Horse pub? Is it? I think it's somewhere near that. If I remember, it's the if anyone knows Bristol, it's the other end of Broadmead.
Broadmead, that's right. Yeah, because I mean, if you I mean, people know because you got Cabot Circus also in the proximity. It's a very I guess you could say it's a very sort of retail heavy focused area.
It's got a massive in Broadmead you've got the massive Primark, and then you got the House of Fraser in Cabot. Cabot being a very nice place to go shopping, by the way. Would recommend. So where it happened, right? It's quite interesting because it is around the corner from the Bear Pit, which is kind of the gate, which is kind of the big junction in Bristol.
Yeah. So this is sort of where, but just for people points of reference, if you can see on the map here, this is roughly where
it's further down. It's
further down,
close to the river.
Yeah, about here.
No, to the right. So you know the Cabot, where Cabot is.
Yeah.
It's kind of on the junction of that and Lawrence Hill.
Oh, so it's over here, is it then?
Yeah, it's around there.
Oh, okay, fine. Directions.
And you're from the southwest. Come on.
Oh God.
yeah, it's your closest city.
It's it's not technically Wells is my closest city.
I guess I did live in Bristol for 4 years and I did study it extensively.
Yeah, I've been up work. I've worked in Bristol for.
I do before I want to preface when I say some of these things, right? Because I do consider Bristol kind of like my second home area because I did so much. I learned so much there. I did. Really? It was a big hopping off point for me. I know it better now than Cardiff or Swansea.
Mm.
And it was I really like the city. I like the way it's laid out. I think it's a really nice place to. It's a nice city to walk around. In honesty,
Yeah.
if you stay out of particular areas, which we'll go into.
Yes.
But and in general, I'll tell you now, the people in general there are very nice people. In general, from what I found, they're very hospitable.
Over the last few weeks, over the last few days, even. There's I'll just say hello everyone. We've got Roy Herbert, we got Marbod, and we got Fez and El Nino as well. Good evening everyone. But over the last few days, there's been a lot of in the wake of the riots. There's been a lot of conversations, I guess, on our side about Bristol. That it's the next Portland. It's Britain.
Yeah,
Britain,
I do kind of resent what they say about that.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know how well Sargon knows Bristol. I assume he knows it quite well, being it from Swindon not being that far away. But I don't. I think there's been a lot of a disservice to Bristol by a lot of people,
and also it's also Somerset, because there's like I mean I don't want to criticize Andy now, because I do like the guy, I like his work and everything. But when he was sort of talking about, he made a mistake, because he sort of believed that the police force in Bristol was a separate entity than Avon and Somerset, and just to point out from the start, Avon and Somerset police jurisdiction is the whole of rural Somerset, so all the way down to Glastonbury, as far west as the border with Devon. And then including Bath and Baines, northeast Somerset.
To be honest, that probably is too big.
It probably is, but in this instance, I would say it's probably what saved Bristol, or what is keeping the leftist mobs at bay, and I'll explain why.
Because everywhere outside of Bristol is very much not leftist. Anyway, outside of Enter, even.
Now, because one of I guess you could say an acquaintance, not so much a friend, but acquaintance of the family. He is a officer in Bristol, and he was. I guess he posted on IRL Facebook chat about what happened, and he was present at the incident. And from what I understand, a lot of the officers who were brought in from around Avon and Somerset were brought in from my neck of the wood. And I mean, while there is elements of progressivism they talk about in the policing, I've never seen a police car down here with rainbow stickers or any of the usual crap that you have to.
I think there's a different policing, right? When it comes to policing, I think there needs to be a discussion between rural and metropolitan policing, because it's a very different system.
Yeah.
I don't think, again, that's done justice enough, because rural police have very different issues to deal with. They come to people very differently. They speak to people in a very different way than they would in the metropolitan. They assume completely different. They assume differently, as in they judge a situation differently than they would normally. And it's also because in the countryside, I would say policing by consent is still quite alive. Obviously, you don't know if the farmer's going to have a gun. No. Honestly, it's just like that. Yeah.
I mean, the policing. I mean,
Uh-huh.
definitely. If I was to say which is probably the most based police policing group in the country, I would say Devon and Cornwall, and I'd say for the reason why is, number one, that is a very big reason. Policing by consent is still a very big, important cultural part within rural communities. And also, there's also a side interesting note. Devon and Cornwall was one of the last areas to, I guess, change the uniform up, because you know how police now have the uniform of a very Americanized.
I hate it. I think the police should return to proper uniform.
Yeah, I mean, I remember.
Yeah,
I remember about like 5-6 years ago when I went down to Devon and Cornwall, I still would see police officers walking the beat, like in Bideford and Barnstable, they wear like a fluorescent jacket, but underneath they would just have a suit and like a tie.
I honestly, at this point, believe that maybe it's worth separating countryside and metropolitan policing and having an entire, just a metropolitan policing board.
Yeah,
that deals with city policing.
But the thing though is, it depends, because in this instance, I would say that the fact that it wasn't separate when the riot broke out, the fact that they had to bring in officers from large parts of West Somerset and where I am down here, because we know there was put in the news that the super what do they call themselves, super
intendants.
What's that, Hayran?
I'm not sure. I said superintendent, but that's
superintendent. Yeah, that's it. Like so, like
is it?
yeah, on ground commanders, superintendents were from as I said, my neck of the woods, and they were the ones that were coordinating the riots in riot gear, and the ones that were, making sure that they weren't going to burn down the police station. I think if it was down to the metro, I guess you could say the sort of even Somerset borough in Bristol, I don't think they would have gone in hard enough than the rural ones. And the reason I say that is if you look at how policing is done, I was going to try to find this video, but I can't find. It's quite an old one. There was a local controversy down here. Basically, it was a bunch of kids in a park. This was a couple of years ago, and they were messing around, and police officers turned up, and they were shouting and swearing at the officers, and then the officer, he just straight up like went to tackle him, and then did like a John Cena sort of pummel him on the ground.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
A Fez press, it's called.
Yeah, first, yeah, okay, whatever.
That's the wrestling move.
That's the wrestling move. Yeah, he just sort of body slammed him on the floor.
Yeah,
and it was quite controversial at the time locally because a lot of them were saying that this was, unjustly. Of course, I mean they're all a bunch of little shits. Like, I don't care. But that's the sort of policing ethos that goes down here. So when I got home from work, what was happening on screen and all the leftists, especially in Bristol, crying about it, I wasn't surprised, not in the slightest. But anyway, yeah, I mean, the reason this stream I'm doing this is because regular viewers on this channel, and I think also probably on one of your guys' channel, one of your channels as well, I've talked about how there will be riots. I said there will be riots this year, and it's going to be in Bristol. And I think in the one of the previous streams, I think it was the attack on the royal family one, I predicted, and this was like a couple of weeks obviously before the riots, I said there's going to be riots and it's going to be in Bristol. Forget London, it's going to be Bristol. And here we are now.
So there's a lot of I think most people here probably watched the UO when I explained what's going on. I think this will be kind of just a more in-depth discussion around what I said there. The Bristol problem has been coming for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
It's been going since the 80s. This issue with Bristol has a long history of riots, by the way. Going back to the 17th century.
I saw a BBC article on that, and it just said, "City of Resistance," as if it's like a bit like the new Star Wars films. It's like, there is the resistance.
I do want to debunk, because this is a massive myth, and probably everyone might agree with me. So, first of all, the 19th century example that is used, it was like 1850 something. The example. It was like the St. Paul's riots in 1850 or what have you. The reason why riots broke out wasn't because of any sort of significant political movement or any sort of social protest. It was because a carnival was banned and people already turned out and were drunk, wanting prostitutes, wanting to go out and gamble, and they were drunk, a lot of drunk, angry men. And so naturally it led to a riot. It wasn't anything significant in any political way at all. Unlike the BBC article, which would make it sound like it was a important occasion. It really, really wasn't. In fact, it was quite common for that era for that sort of level of violence to break out.
True. So the thing about Bristol. Okay, when we go. Okay, let's talk about why these riots are happening in the modern context. And because we said, look, we know that there's the history of rioting in Bristol. That's long known. But obviously, a lot of those riots in the past are different to what we have now. So if we go maybe back to, I wouldn't say the type of riot we have changed. I think after probably the 2011 is when they really started. The ones we're seeing, the type of what we're going on. And it kind of follows.
Yeah. There were two riots. So just to context people, there were two riots in 2011. You had the Stokes Croft riots, which were in April 2011, and then you had the wider Bristol riots, which was part of the wider UK riots in August 2011.
And they were worse in Bristol than most places. Like, I think it was only Birmingham and London probably had it worse.
Yeah. And
I find it odd because you'd think Liverpool would do this because that is commie country. That is real, but it's not.
They're all way too doped up.
No, but the thing is, I think it's just generally because it's almost because of geography. I think in Liverpool it's really hard to do that sort of thing because it's so sprawled out. Whilst in Bristol it's so dense and easy to get around.
I think there's a deep-rooted hatred in. I've noticed when you've been talking about when I've been in Bristol and you hear people talking about. I mean, the Police and Crime Commissioner was quite a good one because elections. Because the last one you had a lot of left-wing in Bristol who were complaining because they said, "Oh, the Conservatives will probably win or in a good position to win because Bristol will vote Labour." But then the rest of the county and the surrounding areas outside of Bristol are quite strong Tory.
Very Long Ashton, mate. Oh, like blimey, that's IDS's seat.
Yeah, I mean,
just not far away.
Clevedon. I mean, very very blue at the moment. Back then, it was actually quite UKIP-y. I mean, back in 2016, when you had the first Police and Crime Commission, the reason why Sue Mount-Stevens, who's an independent, by the way, for people not knowing, was she was very much known in Bristol, but she received a lot of support outside of Bristol because Labour did quite well in Bristol, as one would imagine. So, I mean. And also UKIP vote at the time did very well, so that it was all split. So she got in sort of by default. But it's quite interesting because the left wing votes, which went because it was proportional representation, so it went to like the second round of voting, and you actually see where the county splits, where 55% are, I would say, anti-left wing, and then 45% are pro-left wing, from what I can see, which is rather concerning because then you think about. I'm more concerned that there'll be higher turnout in Bristol than the rest of the rural county. So I'm just telling people now just to go and vote the Police Crime Commissioner before you have some absolute lunatic in charge.
That's it. I don't think the Police and Crime Commissioner should be elected. Personally, I think the politician. You elect the politician, and there are certain roles that should not be elected. There's too much. There's far in our society today. There's far too much trust in the people to choose things, right? And honestly, I don't think we should be picking a police the person to lead the police force because you're politicizing it. Police force is there to enact the will.
Yeah, I mean
of the state.
It was the biggest mistake I think it's actually. I think the Police and Crime Commissioner and the creation of all these mayors was the biggest mistake of conservative government in recent times. I would quite happily say that. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes.
Yeah, and I'm not going far enough with the big society plan.
Yeah, and that as well. Well, this was part of the big society plan as well. What made it work? Cameron just completely missed. He missed it completely. But. Yeah, going back to so tonight's. I mean, we're going to be talking mainly about this. It's a small strip. It's a small road. It's not even a large area.
No, it's a long road, but it's a narrow. It's a long, narrow road because
it's a long, narrow road in Bristol called Stokes Croft. It's. I mean, I'm just because I do know there are people watching, like, and also Hayran. Have you ever been to Bristol, Hayran?
Yeah, I went for an open day at the uni, and it was the thing that made me not want to go there. Ironically enough.
So I'll just bring up for our viewers what what Stokes Croft.
So I want to preface by saying as well, I lived in Stokes Croft for a year.
How was it? How are you alive?
You can imagine it. You can imagine. I lived in an area known as the Arches, and anyone who knows Bristol knows that's that's very close to Stokes Croft.
Yeah.
By the way, amazing pizza place down there called the Gratian. Honestly, it's a Greek pizza place, and it's so good.
Hashtag community.
Community.
It's
yeah. I mean, you could probably get like the general. There was actually a really good photo of the back streets of it, because I have been through Stokes Croft.
Stokes Croft it does feel a bit like a dive, but they like it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Like when I said this, Bristol is a very libertarian city, but it's a left-wing libertarian.
Whoa.
No. I do mean it. I mean it because
libertine city, please.
No, this is where
you must.
If I may, one of the biggest problems currently, this attaches into my whole thinking about left-wingers currently. One of the biggest problems is that they think that left-wing is anti-government, when in fact it's more. This is the biggest problem, and I think it's at the heart of the problem in Bristol. They think that voting Labour and voting Green and stuff will get the government out of their lives, but it really, really won't.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what really I think they want is to be, especially in Stokes Croft, is to be left to develop Stokes Croft in the way they want to. But even if it is into this graffiti commune,
maybe the government should stop them doing that.
Well, I'm kind of like fine, let them have their own little commune. To be honest,
yeah.
I really am. I'm like let them do it, like, because they're developing a big kind of cultural. They call it a cultural quarter, but the problem as well with Stokes Croft is now, like I said, it's leaking into the rest of the city, and is ruining it because it's attracting the wrong kind of people into the city as well.
Yeah, this is the issue with having you can't really cut off a part of the city.
No, I think the problem with communes, right, and this is something I wouldn't want them to do their own thing, because from what I can see, I want to go into Antifa in Bristol, and the connections with the left wing, because when you actually look at it, they're not, and this is where it's annoyed me with some of the sort of more boomer conservative, like mainstream takes from what happened. A lot of them are well connected with like local journalists.
Oh, do Bristol Live, Bristol Post.
Yeah, but they are all connected. They can get out the narrative to the right people.
Yeah.
They also have the money, because a lot of them work within digital media, digital marketing.
These are smart people. Like they're not. Well, I wouldn't say. Well, not smart in that way, but they are definitely constructive.
Yeah, I've met like plenty of. I mean, my first job interview was at it was actually along the harbour front at a digital marketing bit.
Love it.
And
that's great in the UK, in my mind.
Yeah, and I walked in there, and while I was waiting, there was a massive fuck off communist flag.
Yep.
Just like Soviet Union flag, and then this young girl just walked in with a Che Guevara sort of cap, revolutionary cap, and everything. I was like,
dude, there's a whole Cuban bar on there, which is all about Cuban Revolution kind of theme.
Yeah, we've got a couple of them in Manchester as well.
I like
the obsession with it is just beyond.
The obsession with the Cuban Revolution is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Did they know Che was a racist?
Do they know Cuba is a shithole?
Wow.
Okay, so now, let's do a bit of because we know a bit about, well, just keep talking about a bit about the background of Bristol and where it is today. In terms of, so Bristol is a big uni city. It's got two huge unis there.
Yep.
You got Bristol University itself,
and my uni.
Yeah, and University of West of England. Bristol University. Now this is because now I correct me if I'm wrong, Owen, but this is from what I've
UOB. Yeah.
Bristol University used to be one actually ranked back in the day one of the best universities in the country. Believe it or not,
it's still Russell Group. It is still Russell Group.
Having said that, though, I think that they are very much gone down.
They're struggling. I think UOB is struggling to modernise quite a bit in terms of kind of its infrastructure.
And University of West of England has, I always felt, have actually been rather pro free speech because they did platform Milo Yiannopoulos.
And they allowed Mog to talk there initially.
And they allowed Mog to talk there. So they've done quite well. And you got Mitch in the chat who's doing West Country racial slurs, which I will not allow. I'll make someone a moderator.
This is right. So I could talk about Yui a little bit. I might be going back to Yui, so I don't want to say too much. Like the thing is about Yui, I think on the grand scheme in uni terms, it actually does. Maybe not. It's not on the bad. It's not on the hard bad end, but there's definitely the bits are there now to make it into. To ruin it a little bit, like we had a really bad SU president for a while there, who was being propped up by the oodles of Marxist organizations in the student union.
They always are, yeah.
And there was like 3 of them, Marxist societies everywhere. I would love to have set up a libertarian society there and see how they would react to me.
Yeah, and this is the battle map that we've got up here.
But honestly, as well, a big thing I learned as well in uni is the amount of quiet Tories everywhere. The amount of quiet conservatives everywhere is insane. Like I managed to get into when I went to uni, I was all my flatmates voted David Cameron. You know, it was quite surreal. I didn't expect that at all. And they were on, like, you know, because UE being a business studies uni, essentially, it's got tons of business studies. It now is I think sadly it's becoming very social sciencey now. It was kind of a like, you know, your mum runs a pharmaceutical, helps manage a pharmaceutical firm and in Sussex, and you're sent here to do business studies because that's the best thing we can do with you.
Yeah. I think also a lot of it is that you know, within the last 10 years, the left in this country has, I mean, it's quite a similar way the Conservatives lost their ideological principles, because you had the situation where Labour voting areas were no longer representing of working class people, and so what you had is the left in this country had to look elsewhere, and what you had brewing in the American university scenes in places like Portland was progressivism, and it was imported. And I mean, last time I was in Bristol, you see that import come in. And also, just a fun fact, and correct me, there is a park near Stakescroft which is called Portland's, isn't there? Is there?
Yeah, I think so. I think that.
It's a twist of irony.
There's a lot of Americanisms in Bristol. Bristol's is quite Americanized, to be honest.
It has a very high American population as well.
Yeah, it does. A lot of Canadians and a lot of Americans there.
Yeah,
I point this out on stream. People don't believe me, but if you go to Bristol, you'll often find an American.
Especially in the M Shed area.
They love the Arnolfini. Americans love the Arnolfini, the gallery.
That's where I worked. I worked at the Arnolfini for some time. There was a lot of American. I met like a Brazilian.
You want to see peak middle class progressivism? Go to the Arnolfini.
Yeah, I know, but there was once a time AI nearly fell to the dark side. I nearly fell to the dark side.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I nearly fell to Lib Demism once.
No, I wasn't falling to Lib Demism. I was falling to full-blown Che Guevara-ism.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know. What is it with the southeast?
Was this when you were working in the Arnolfini?
Yeah, literally, and there's the people I was just with, and what saved me was actually a feminist who came in to deliver a speech at the stage, and I just realised how batshit crazy she was. And literally, there was a Polish woman on stage that looked at her like, "What the fuck are you on about?" So talk about women and oppression, and she's like, "Bitch, she basically said, like, what? How is that possible? We're all on stage together."
Yeah.
Who's oppressing you? I mean, that's sort of what saved me from falling any further.
It's
Stop working there.
funny what
Thank
gets
you.
you, isn't it? Yeah.
It does. It really does.
What had me? Really, for me, honestly, when I keep saying it was Star Wars. It was Star Wars that pulled me away. Like I was swaying, and then Star Wars: Last Jedi happened, and it pulled me away completely. I was like, "Is this what the culture they're going to create? It's awful. I hate it."
It helped. But so with the riot on Sunday, as you point out, Owen, in your map here, so what we got here is we got the sort of general area of where it took place. So you got the city centre here. This is the Colston statue. So for people who will remember, and this is something worth pointing out actually, because the Colston statue was toppled probably about this time last year. Probably
it was organized. It was organized. It had been. Sorry.
So okay, maybe a bit later, but they managed to drag it all the way to the harbour.
It's quite an easy drag, to be honest, because it's just down. It's quite a it's a big kind of plaza.
It's a long it's but then again, I mean, how heavy was it? Because I mean, you think
it was cast iron, so you think like bronze or something like that. So you're thinking, But the thing is, right, Shire, they had been organising that probably for years. That eventual outcome of taking it down, because the Colston statue has been, and Colston Hall had been on in the kind of in Bristol's left wing kind of cabal, whatever you want to say, runs that end, because there is a very organised. There's a big organisation in Bristol of the left wingers, and I'm interested to work out who's running it, because it's clearly organised.
I have a theory, and I'm going to share this with you, Owen. I think HSBC is running it.
What?
Okay, I'll get into.
You know what? No, go back. Right, talking about bringing down house prices and stuff like that. Just thinking about it. I'm going to be. This is okay. Tinfoil hats on now, ladies and gents.
Yeah.
Go on.
You talk about HSBC, right? It could be landowners, property owners trying to do it to lower the prices of Bristol city centre, because Bristol city centre is a very desirable location. It's the second most expensive place outside of London.
That's correct.
And it is it's the fastest growing city out of London, and it is being gentrified at an incredible rate. And these riots could be a way of lowering prices in the centre of the city.
Possibly.
It comes to my mind now. I'm just thinking about it, because I know because it's not a huge amount of places are foreign owned in Bristol, as far as I was aware.
No, not compared to London, like places like especially
not compared to nowhere near to London or Manchester or even some other cities that are smaller. But because Bristol is kind of a bit of a holdout in many ways in some areas of it, especially it's like if you go to Clifton, it's very traditional still up there.
Yeah, I mean the last city holdout I would say is, I would like to say Bath, because Bath is Lib Dem, but they're not overly, they're like socialist. They actually do. There is an element of progressivism, but it isn't like radical, if that makes sense. It's not. They wouldn't go out and riot in Bath, that I could say.
Because I really am just thinking about kind of what is motivating these things, because what's motivating these organisations and who's funding these organisations.
The reason I say HSBC is because we know that they did donate to Extinction Rebellion, and that's how they first got on my radar.
Big presence in Bristol, Extinction Rebellion, huge presence.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, all these groups, I mean, it's all meaningless, because all these, I mean, your average rioter who was there yesterday, they were most likely a member of the Bristol Antifa chapter, which is called
huge.
which is huge, and it's like what they call themselves, like the no, what was it, no abode address Antifa or something like that. Or so, they have like some ridiculous name, but it's something along those lines. And then you have the Socialist Workers' Party. You have various like Stokes. You have this. I'm going to share actually in a sec on Twitter the Stokes Croft Twitter. Like a community group which is for social justice and all the other progressive talking points, and of course Extinction Rebellion, and Momentum. Bristol Momentum is very, very militant and very, very violent as well.
Yeah, well, it is an organization again called the People's Republic of Stokes Croft, which is a big kind of umbrella organization. They're funded by the Arts Council in London, of England. What?
Oh, so that is actually, I'm sort of right then. I'm sort of right. It probably is HSBC.
Arts Council London, yeah, that's like that's where they're getting their funding from. Yeah.
Why would HSBC fund that?
Multiple banks. I mean, I'm not going to go down the banking conspiracy rabbit hole stuff because that but
it's cringe.
Yeah. But those are the. I mean, it's big corporations, and this is the funny thing because they fund them. And a lot of these people, from what I can see, similar to Antifa in America, are in many ways they're useful idiots. So in America, they were useful idiots for the Democrats because they used the riots last year to attack Trump, saying that Trump's, this is Trump's America, Trump's, this is the chaos that he's unleashed, blah 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 blah. And so that was theirs, and and as soon as Biden's come in, they've sort of been chucked under the bus, largely. But Black Lives Matter and Antifa have, at least for the moment. From what I can see, because I'm just trying to figure. I think the housing price thing Owen pointed out is probably. I think it is a plausible reason. It does make sense. I think the people who were there probably. I'm not saying that every single one of them was in on it.
No, they wouldn't be in on it.
They wouldn't be in it. They'd be just idiots.
Yeah, well, Bristol, like I said, there is right. When you go around at night and you notice as well walking down Broadmead because there's so many homeless people there. There's a lot of alcoholics and a lot of angry guys everywhere. They do like a bruise up if they can get away with it, and there are people and there's so many students as well, and rogue students is new. I don't know if it's a term yet coined, but a rogue student is someone who's no longer in university but still lives the life of a student.
Yes, that is. The good example would be that guy who was arrested for posing in front of that burnt out police van doing like the middle fingers up at the camera. He's like 27-year-old son of a civil servant, and I've rogue students probably again there's the perfect example because I don't think from what I can see he's studying still at university.
No, a lot of them don't. Some of them aren't necessarily a rogue student, but we'll lump them in there. But some of them are just people who got attracted to the Bristol lifestyle, that Stokes Croft lifestyle, and went down there because they love there. Because Bristol's got a massive music scene, which attracts a load of people, like a huge music scene, and especially in terms of your club music and your like shitty trance techno or whatever crap you want to listen to. Because you've got what are the big nightclubs tonight? Okay, Thecla's big indie club, which is on a boat. You've got Blue Mountain, which is a big druggy club. I think that's closed down now, which is that's been a victim to the gentrification effort. And you've got a listed nightclub called Motion. Which is down near the Temple Meads, which is a big kind of place, and these attract people from far and wide. And then eventually they come here. They like the lifestyle. They love the drug city, drug capital of the UK. Well, outside of Glasgow. So they stick around. As in Bristol, the smell of Bristol is pretty much weed. It's in a lot of places. So yeah, it does have a high population of rogue students.
Yeah,
Because
and
a lot of my mates
that
ended up being
population of rogue students, which is probably actually a better coined term that I could probably come up with, it's created this over. I mean, I would say since Blair's time, at least, this sort of increase in sort of a purity spiral where ever since Blair's taken office, and especially under Corbyn, Labour Party has done extremely well, and the Conservative, whether it's like on local elections in the city itself or in parliamentary elections, have done quite poorly, and the results have been getting worse and worse.
Centre. There's kind of they're getting better on the edge on the fringes though, like Avonmouth, for example.
Yeah, there was a on the fringes, but even like with Clifton used to be like North
Clifton will be Green and Lib Dem. I think that's what Clifton will end up being soon because it's full of lecturers.
But you see, I remember when it used to be a pretty reasonably safe Conservative seat.
Yeah. Well, across the bridge, it definitely is.
Yeah, and it no longer is. It's now a Labour seat. But
students.
One thing that I've noticed with Bristol, and where Labour, and I think this is where Labour's been, because again, if you look at the responses from the Portland, if you're going to compare this to Portland, look at Portland Mayor and his response.
One of the biggest things we need to change, I think, in terms of in Western democracies, is students should not be allowed to vote in the cities that they're studying in, because they're not invested long term in that city and that area, and that will prevent a lot of the issue, a lot of what we're seeing.
Yeah, but then like Canterbury would not be Labour, and then
Oxford, Bath would Bath. It would change
Conservative. Yeah, it would be.
It would change the makeup of the country. It really would. It would transform it, and but that was what Blair knew that was going to happen, so that's why he allowed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and but one thing I've noticed is that there has been, as left-wing politics is sort of being accepted by the council, especially in the Blair period, where it was like, oh yeah, like so you've got the Bear Pit here, and then you have like Stokes Croft, and then you have the various sort of.
It became the brand of Bristol, like the kind of this kind of progressive, rebellious city.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Bristol kind of adopted as its brand, and it's embolized in Banksy, isn't it? That's why he was pushed to the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
And Banksy, that multi-million pound graffiti artist who rebels against a man who only does things that I think he could be a bit of a psyop.
I most likely think he is a bit of a psyop. I don't think he really likes these people though. That's the thing. I think he's just into a useful idiot. I think he began as a real rebel, but he's probably become a bit of a useful idiot to just activist causes now that are run by massive multi-million pound corporations. Yeah. Yeah. But one thing is I think with a lot of these people, the Labour Party has sort of outlived their usefulness. Especially when it comes to.
Well, they haven't got much power left.
Well, they haven't, because of course the rising power in Bristol now is the Green Party.
Yep.
And yeah, and the trouble is the Green Party. I'm going to be honest. They are the Antifa party, in Bristol at least, and I will show you why now.
I lived with a very when I was living in Stokes Croft, I did live with a Green Party member.
Oh no!
She didn't know my views. I don't think she was, but she was definitely Free Palestine. She was a nice girl, actually. Not gonna lie, no, very nice girl.
So this is from a post by the name of Cleo Lake, who is a Green Party activist, former Lord Mayor, and also Green Party candidate for the Police and Crime Commissioner for Avon and Somerset. So, if worse, there is a chance that she could become my Police and Crime Commissioner. And this is her response to the Bristol riots. So what we got here is like the recent Women's Vigil, the riot started as a peaceful protest. It was easy to blame the rioters, but in our hearts we know the situation is more complex, and Bristol has often been at the forefront of these movements with a strong history of protest and dissent. The divide between citizens and state, anti-police sentiment, and even police strategy all play a part. If I were Police and Crime Commissioner now, I would be asking for the police to conduct an internal inquiry into policing of this shocking event. It is essential that we work to understand and tackle the problems we face through listening and making real steps towards better police public relations. Basically, the police wouldn't allow us to commit domestic terrorism. I'm not happy about it.
Well, they never are.
No.
Well, I mean, this is the way they work. Words, them of violence, burning down property and police cars, whatever.
Yeah.
Perfectly legit. Just it's the voice of the unheard. But everyone's heard Antifa because everyone's seen the Green Party.
Well, exactly. I mean, and this is the thing. Like let's just say that AI Shiratori here organised a peaceful protest in the Shires.
Mostly peaceful.
Yeah, mostly peaceful. And let's just say that hypothetically in Minecraft, for the police listening, we decided to conduct ourselves in a similar fashion to what happened on Bristol last Sunday. What do you think the response from this charming little madam would be?
Disgusting far-right Nazi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Disgusting far-right Nazi insurrectionists. Oh, government, do something. Ban them. Arrest them. Lock them up. Police inquiry. Yeah, tackle white hatred. I mean, and so what you got is this. This for me is like, I mean, just forget the useful idiots on the ground. What is potentially brewing in Bristol is violent Marxist domestic terrorists. And these people are, in my opinion, one step away from ISIS. And that's not me being hyperbolical, because they've normalized violence of property. What comes after normalized violence of property, everyone?
People.
Yeah.
Always. It's. Yeah, we're getting to Weimar now. We're getting to the point where there will be like kind of communist militias on the street, rounding people up.
And then one day, for no reason whatsoever, we'll vote in a man with a funny moustache who happens to be a failed painter.
I don't think any of these kids right now realize what the backlash is going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't. Like we're here trying to calm down, and if we're trying to we're here as our lovely classical liberal selves, who are trying to be like, no, let's just go back to what we like. We like our everyone just be reasonable, be nice. I don't care if you're left wing or not, but just be nice. And it's going to get to the point where the right will just eventually all become no more left wingers, must purge, and that'll become a genuine position for many people.
They've gone
not careful. Well, there is a point where they dig too deep. The left are literally the Balrog will be here soon.
Yeah.
They get what they effing deserve.
I actually do think that they've reached that point, to be honest.
Well, currently, what's happening is, you're having the establishment's doing its best to contain the Balrog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the Balrog will devour their dwarven miners.
Yes. It will. It will come up, and it would. And the thing is, take the French Revolution. Who were the last people to be killed in the Reign of Terror? It was the leaders of the revolution themselves.
Yeah.
The monster that you unleash will consume you. It always happens. Always happens, and it always will happen.
Oh,
And
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so like this is what's happening in Bristol right now. It's kind of if it keeps going further, it probably will end up as self-destruction, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, all these. I say young people. I mean, they're probably my age. I would say late 20s, to be honest. Most
there's definitely people type of people you do see in Bristol, especially lady there on the right with her dyed tips there and big earrings. You do see that. That's your typical Stokes Croftian.
It looks like what happened to one of my friends from school who went to Bristol Uni, and she ended up looking like that after 3 years at Bristol.
That's what happens to a lot of kids who go to Bristol Uni.
She also all of a sudden turned lesbian after the 3 years, which was interesting. After having about 5 boyfriends. Yeah.
That also can happen if you get into certain circles in Bristol.
Yeah, she was big part of the LGBT there.
Same thing will happen happens to people in Liverpool as well. London, it's slightly. If you go to London unis, you come out slightly differently.
Oh, it's all unis really. Manchester, I think, has that a bit as well. I don't think it's much.
I don't come across it much in Cardiff.
A few homosexuals as well.
I don't think going to uni turns you gay. I just think it's people.
I'm getting radical. I think going to uni increases your risk of turning gay.
Why are you gay? That mean?
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, okay. So the rioters themselves. Again, this sort of reinforces our point, really, when it comes to the Americanization of the radical left now, and Antifa people. Because if I was to show you this image and say Portland, right?
Yeah.
Believable.
Yeah, valid.
Yeah.
If I did,
yeah.
And in our circles, from the fact that they are dressed, like this, the men, they got like this. First of all, you got dyed hair and hair extensions is a big warning light for me. Okay, uncut and unkept hair. Well, I can't complain them because I'm not. My hair's not as bad as these two, but yeah.
You're getting there.
Right. You're getting there. And again, hair and shitty dog collar and everything, and trackies, and basically what you got here is grade A mutants, and
rogue students, all of them,
and rogue students. Most of them, I would see the lady on the top right there. I could maybe say possibly a student, but all the other ones here are rogue students. They studied, they got heavily involved with the local Antifa scene and the sort of Stokescroft People's Republic community.
Right, this is how it usually happens. You go there, you study, you go on a night out, you go to certain clubs. You're probably smoking your spliffs or whatever. You meet certain people who do that also, and then that you go into their circles, and one of those people happen to be a Momentum member. Next thing you know, you're on a march for Jeremy Corbyn, and next thing you know, these Jeremy Corbyn guys are also leaders in Antifa, and next thing you know, you're in Antifa.
Yeah,
it's kind of that kind of how the connections kind of work.
Yeah,
it's and Bristol's got it's got so much large networks of that right now. It's just perpetuating.
Yeah, I if you live in Bristol, move. Would probably be my advice.
Don't say that. I might be moving to Bristol.
Jesus, don't do that, man.
I do like areas.
Get some personal security equipment, for God's sake.
Well, I'm just, if you want to live in a flat that's going to get appropriated by the Braz, the Bristol, fucking whatever, Bristol.
It probably wouldn't be called like something like that. I don't think they'd name it something really Americanized, probably.
I took an That's an Americanism, the Chaz. So
Well,
Braz.
these guys were holding signs up saying abolish ICE. It's just like,
Yeah,
I saw.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one person at the Bristol protest had a sign up. It was on the live stream, and it just said "abolish ICE." I'm like, oh, for God's sake! I mean, these people are absolutely delusional. They are beyond midwit. I mean, I think they're beyond redemption. Some of them at this point, in some cases.
You think every left winger's irredeemable? To be fair.
Well, if you're 30 and you're still doing this, I think you are beyond redemption.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're just bored and have no meaning, and so you're looking for the next thing, and you're probably maybe either trying to shag 20-year-olds, possibly.
Yeah,
I mean, actually, very likely.
I'd rather they just do that than have to get involved in Antifa and burn half a city down.
A lot of these older men involved in this are probably just there to get the younger girls.
Yeah, and that leads into the usual thing: is why is it that a person like Carl Rittenhouse could fire randomly into a crowd and hit 2 sex offenders?
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah.
In his defense, it wasn't randomly. He was defending himself, and he is free, I believe. So,
to be fair, no, I actually think like when it came, like I think the second one was deliberate. The second and third one was deliberate. The first one, it startled him because he was like running up behind him in that car park.
By the way, Hayran, to your point, Rory Herbert's daughter went to Bristol.
Yeah, I saw that. He mentioned it. I didn't think she turned gay, Rory. Please set me up with her. Carry on.
2015. That's like a bit older than us. I went to uni. I started uni in 2015.
So did I. No, I started. No, I started in 2014. Yeah. So no, well, I mean, I've only ever dated older women, so it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for me. I say older; they were 3 months older. Anyway, go on.
So, this I think this is where, I mean, again, I go back to the thing was leading up to the protests. Let's not say protest. Let's say riot. I keep on saying protest. Can't be indoctrinated by the media too much on this. The riot. It was well coordinated. I first saw chatter of this in the usual sort of circles on Twitter, where they were organising a Kill the Bill protest, and I had a feeling at that point on Sunday morning that there was going to be some level of violence. I didn't expect them to target a police station, which was very much.
It's gonna get to the point where they're gonna go and they're gonna run into City Hall in Bristol. They're gonna storm it, I think.
I think. Well, I actually have a. I think that that'll be the ultimate end goal. But I think what they'll be doing is they will have smaller groups targeting multiple police stations, because you have to remember, from their perspective, they are targeting the police at this point because they're going full Portland. So, I mean, the fact that
they're doing Antifa strategies. This is why Antifa should be like. If I was in charge right now of the country, I'd set out my 5. I'd set my 5 on Antifa, like bigly, and I want that. And I'd say to them, I want it destroyed.
Yeah.
That's what
I
want everyone who's funding it barred from doing anything, having all their UK assets seized.
Well, I mean, first of all, I would say, like, on first instant, the city council in Bristol is hereby abolished. Like, this is what the government should do: hereby abolished while we investigate what's been going on, because there are people on city council, especially Greens, who are very, very much in bed with the Antifa.
Well, I would just set up a new act that meant that if you it's already in law, because you can't be associated to a terrorist organization. Thank you, IRA.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be like if the Conservatives councillors down here were affiliated with Combat 18 or National Action or any other band far right.
The funniest thing is, see, the thing is, in the UK, right, when it gets to it, we in a lot of ways have a well-trained force to deal with, and well set up force to deal with this sort of kind of, if it escalates any further, again, because we've been dealing with the IRA for so long. because
Yeah.
I think it may get to that point. It may get to car bombing.
Well, one thing that did concern me with the riots itself was that they were using incendiary and explosive devices against the police. And that, I mean, at most I was expecting Molotov cocktails, which you didn't actually see. We actually saw proper, closest thing to explosives possible, even though it was sort of
It's fireworks.
fireworks,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of the fronts for drugs in Bristol are all fireworks shops.
Yeah, but the one that was there was one that was chucked at police, which was like an explosive later on in the evening, and at the police station as well. So, I mean, I think they are reaching that point where you're going to have to say that they're not even rioters; they are terrorists, effectively, because. And this is something that really isn't being told, was the destruction of a nearby multi-story car park, which
Is that that's a one I've used.
I've used that as well.
It's an important one for the hospital, which is nearby.
Yeah, now this is something I was going to raise that point, actually, because there are actually
The worst located hospital in the country. It's terrible with no parking.
Yeah, but because what you have is you have like three sort of hospitals. You got the BRI, which is the Bristol Royal Infirmary. You have the Eye Hospital, and then you have like a children's wing of the BRI. So it's quite there's a lot of like medical.
Yeah, Bristol Eye Hospital as well.
Yeah, and a lot of those cars that were parked there were hospital staff and families. So. I mean, and so the natural correlation is like, well, what have they got to do with the police? Well, nothing.
Everybody gets it.
It doesn't matter for the revolutionary mob. And this is what
in Cambodia, there was no discrimination.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, and it's the same thing. What with Portland? I mean, first it was attacking the police, then it was smashing up cars. And then it went to attacking people, shooting people in the head because they may or may not be Trump supporter, and then marching around residential neighborhoods, flashing lights into their homes and threatening to attack them in their homes. I mean, it's like...
Well, that will happen in Bristol as well. There probably will be groups. Well, they'll be quite small groups. There won't be big groups. These are laughers. They'll likely go into like maybe Clifton area and stuff, and probably do similar things, but they'd probably be dealt with quite quickly.
Yeah,
I think. But because obviously, thank God, we don't have partisan police necessarily. Even though we have the commissioners, the police still has an independent person who runs it. And no police force should be partisan. By the way, number one, I think the Americans are stupid to ever even have that.
Well, you see, one of the problems with Portland, and this is why I did have to explain to some Americans about this, was in Portland, and then Andy No explained this in his book, which I know, Hayran, you referenced in your latest video on Bristol as well, which so I go and check out because it's actually very well put together as well. The Antifa tactics was the reason Antifa can get away with the violence and committing pretty much murder in theory in Portland is because obviously the state is controlled by the Democrat governor, and then of course on the city you have Democrat run Democrat socialist run city council. You then have the local legislators, which are also Democrats, and then because you have the judge, the coroner's office, all judges, all of them are Democrats. And so when you had during the riots last year in America, federal officers arresting these rioters, the Antifa rioters, they would not be prosecuted. All charges would be dropped as soon as it got to the desk of these prosecutors, who were again also Democrats, elected Democrats. So that's a huge problem because number one, it is as you said, partisan preference, but also you don't have the rule of law. The rule of law only applies if you are a member of the right party, which is one could argue a dictatorship. I think you could argue that is a dictatorship. What's going on in Oregon, as an example? I think you could argue that. Where it's again, Bristol is here in the UK. It's different because number one, the judges aren't elected. We don't elect them. They are part of the Crown Prosecution Service, which are technically apolitical. Prosecutors in this country are also apolitical. The police force meant to be apolitical. It isn't so much, but you're not going to have with when they make these arrests of the people who committed the violence. You're not going to. I don't think people are saying, "Oh, they're going to get off with a slap on the wrist." I don't think a lot of them will because of the nature of the violence that was committed that day.
I don't know.
I don't think so because I think the problem is you're getting people who are being charged with, attempted murder. They're looking at attempted murder, like with the police officers in the van.
That's true. Yeah,
I don't think you're going to have a situation with that you had in Portland, where you're just going to have them to get they're going to be let off scot-free because they have that control. We don't have that same level of local control, which is a huge good thing.
Yeah, I mean, Bristol's still a Labour stronghold, isn't it?
It is, yes.
I mean, are the Democrats worse than them? I think the Democrats are maybe 2 years ahead of them.
I think. I mean, one thing I noticed, and I have a theory on this. The mayor of Bristol, Marvin Reeves, he's a Labour mayor, obviously.
Yeah.
And he came out and he did actually, I mean, he was one of the first to condemn the violence, but also what was quite interesting is his wording in it, because he acknowledged that these people were, sort of very selfish, narcissistic individuals who wanted to carry out their own, as he puts it, their own little revolutionary fantasies, which is quite interesting because that's what stuff you would hear from our side of the aisle. In theory.
Yeah, that's the opposite of what Ted Wheeler did in Portland. Yeah. So that's pretty hopeful then.
The reason I think that is, number one, Labour has been losing ground in certain parts of Bristol to the Green Party, and there's also friction within Labour because there is a part of Labour which aren't full on Momentum, even though Momentum did. They do have huge control over the Labour Party in Bristol. I don't know what it's like now. I know that under Corbyn's time, they were pretty much running the show there. So that you got that as well. So I think it's more of I think the reason why he's done that is it's more of a reaction because if he also, I mean, a lot of it is his fault because the thing is, he allowed Colston statute. The mob to do this to Colston statue, and he emboldened them and normalized property damage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it's you can. I think you can compare the way Antifa works in Bristol to Portland, but you can't compare the way the government works in Bristol to Antifa.
It's the response to Antifa you can't compare because obviously the response to Antifa. I mean, like first of all, the BBC did report on it the night it happened. I don't remember any of CNN or any of the other mainstream publications apart from Fox that reported on the Antifa riots.
No, that's true.
That was another big thing because I think America is America is far worse in my opinion than we are, but at the same token we are getting there in a few years if nothing is done because of this.
As I say, Democrats are about 2-3 years ahead of Labour really. Though I think I think Labour will catch up to the Democrats fairly soon. Especially if they keep pushing Green New Deals and things like that. I mean, they kicked out Momentum, but Momentum was just terrible optics for them, really. But the rest of Labour, I imagine, just share ideology, really. Yeah, they're just. It's odd because they've still got some Blairites, but who wants Blairitism, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. It's a strange party at the moment. They're still trying to find
what,
their
Labour?
feet. Yeah, Labour.
Oh, so I think Labour are in a death spiral. I think it's over for them, personally.
I can't see that, to be honest.
No, I honestly, I don't. I can't. I'm trying to figure out ways they can recover, and they just haven't got the people there to help to do it.
Yeah, their best bet's Keir Starmer.
And their grassroots is an absolute mess. In terms of its, not in terms of there's a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, and they're very passionate people, regardless of their nonsense. But it's so divided.
Yeah,
it's more divided. People talk about the Tories divided. My God, the grassroots with Brexit now an issue, done deal. The Tories are probably less divided than they have been in a very long time on a grassroots level.
Yeah, the divisions in the Tory party are between the MPs and the grassroots. The divisions in Labour are within the grassroots itself.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Because there is no Blairite. The Blairite grassroots is gone, more or less. It's going. It's not many of them left. A lot of the Blairites have come over to the Tory party and are now forming the left wing of the Tory party.
Unfortunately, so yeah, and a lot of Liberal Democrats as well. Like
Howard, I would say, was probably more Blairite.
Yeah, and Ben Harris as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Blairites who came into.
Well, I don't actually think Ben Harris is really a conservative. I think he's a communist spy, to be honest, who's there to like feed disinformation. Because I mean, I can't imagine someone would be that unimaginative.
I think about it, and I think I don't. If it wasn't for the trade unions, Labour would not exist at all right now. And I technically don't think that was ever constitutional in Britain. By the way, that unions. That unions could run a political party. I don't think that should ever be constitutional in any democracy. Because I don't believe there should be a because unions in a way are kind of monopolies. And they also more or less mandated as well. So if you're a nurse, you more or less have to join the union. You're compelled to it. Same with a teacher, and being compelled to it. If you give your money to it, that money will end up with Labour. And then as soon as it's a compel and you got a compelled vote, you're literally you're making a partisan decision, a political decision. Well, the union is making a political decision on your behalf, and it's wrong. They should not. It's undemocratic. I find it quite frankly disgusting. The idea that these unions can, even though Labour is not in power, because these unions have connections to Labour, can still dictate policy and move everything in Labour's direction because they still have a monopoly over the industries. So you talk about education. The biggest problems in my mind with education is the fact that no matter who's in charge, it'll always be a left-wing curriculum because the unions are in charge of it.
Yeah, well, there's no. Don't get me wrong. I hate unions as much as the next person. I probably, well, the only one I'd ever join probably is the Free Speech Union, but they seem to be more for. They have a single. I think if you're going to have a union, it has to be basically for one thing. And that's the best way to do it. So the Free Speech Union is just for free speech. But
in my mind, it's neither Labour goes or the unions go. That's my mind.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, your trade unions and things like that. I mean, you end up with, Carry On Union or whatever. Carry On Convenience, was it? Whichever Carry On film.
You won't get me. I'm part of the union.
Yeah, that's actually an anti-union song,
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah,
because the people don't mention this. The left won't tell you this. It's about a lot of these people who are voting Tory now are people who got burnt by the unions in the 80s and 70s and noticed the crap was going on.
Yeah,
because a lot of them hate Scargill.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, a load of them do because A, he shipped them upriver, and B, they understood how much those union heads are being paid.
Yeah.
They're being paid ridiculous amounts, considering a union is not technically meant to have a head.
Ideally, yes.
I think you could do a whole we can do a whole kind of deep dive into unions and how they operate because they're dodgy as hell.
Yeah.
Now, Hayran shared a link which I've got here. But I actually also found them the People's we mentioned the People's Republic of Stokescroft, which is a cultural, there's the based in the hearts of Bristol's cultural quarter and outdoors art gallery. So it's like a local movement within Stokescroft, and from what I can see, they are. I mean, I would say they are the indoctrination wing of anti of the politics that goes on.
They're a big part. They're a big organization in terms of in terms of what I think is creating these people in Bristol.
From the looks of the website, which we'll go into in a minute, I think they are Antifa. I think they're just a front for it. I think they. I wouldn't be surprised if a few years ago it was the People's Republic of, or Stokescroft Antifa or something, but then they changed it because of the optics in America.
Yeah. I mean, I would say
it's been around a while, by the way. The PRSC.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately, I would say that they are. Yes, I would say they are probably Antifa public mask.
Yeah.
They very much praise the criminal damage of the Colston statue. And one thing that's really interesting is you hear like rebel against climate, and rebel against climate change, rebel against.
That's an interesting.
Financial policies by the Conservative
framing. There, that's an interesting framing.
Rebel against history. Yeah, that's the one.
No, it's not against history. Rebel history.
Rebel history. Yeah.
Again, the struggles we came up past. It's almost a pro history thing, but they believe that the history they've been taught is all lies.
Well, that's why you have these articles of we need to decolonize English curriculum. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, get rid of Norman, like the Norman culture. What do you mean decolonize? And then you dig down. It's
post-colonialism is a terrible, terrible philosophy.
Well, yeah, because it's Americanism. It's
what created Zimbabwe and South Africa.
Yeah, it's just another Americanism, and what you have is basically we need all like Chaucer needs to go because of black studies, and then what you have is actually instead of anti-colonialism, is a form of cultural colonialism because you're just importing.
I just want to say though, as
American values.
I can tell you this now. What the thing you notice in Stokescroft is that all the businesses are run and operated by ethnic minorities, but anyone who's buying anything or has money there is white. And so what you notice is that a lot of these guys probably have money from mum and dad who are like lawyers or whatever has you.
Yeah.
And they fund these businesses, which all these small business guys, power to them. But you do notice that none of the people who are probably in this group are really productive in any other manner other than being activists.
I will say, my friends that went to Bristol, all of them happened to come from affluent families. And all of them happened after university to be unemployed for at least a year, or they were writing freelance for like magazines in other countries. And we're talking like Asian countries, like Taiwan or whatever.
Yeah,
international magazines. And they'd all go to India to find themselves. Oh God, they were.
I hear that all the
type
time.
Of
people. They go, people go, I want to go to Nepal and find myself.
Why? It's a shithole.
One thing I find very strange is that the idea that you have to find perceived wisdom is always in the Far East.
It's a fetish. It's a fetish.
Yeah, it's an excuse to go on holiday, basically.
You see, I wonder if it's down to some elements of like Karate Kid. I just wonder.
It just comes from kind of the way these people are easily manipulated, and they watch so many movies and TV, they don't realize where these thoughts are coming from when it's just literally something they saw on TV when they were younger. The wise old Asian man. Being a trope. They're literally what they're doing now. Tropes have become so evident in our media that they're manifesting in the way people act.
Yeah. Now, and this one is concerning. Is like they run. I mean, they are very busy. These people. They run workshops. They run all these.
What else are they going to do? They haven't got anything else to do.
Well, exactly. But the thing is, they are heavily pushing activism in schools, and that's one thing you do find when you go through all their tweets and everything.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's in school. It just says the school of activism. It's to teach you to be an
No, but
activist.
if you go down, there is actually like I'll try and find it. There was actually when I say school, it's more like it's probably a kindergarten.
In Stokes-Croft, there's a girls' school as well. Just note that.
Wow,
Yeah.
sexist.
No, Bristol has tons of separated girls and boys schools. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I found it really weird how many girls and boys schools there were, and I still find that weird about England. How you have separate schools.
I'm for separate schools. Well, not for. I'm fine with them. I should say.
I'm
I
actually
went to
kind
a
of
mixed
against
one.
it. I want small schools. I want loads of small schools.
No, I don't. Nah, I'm not necessarily. Well, I don't know. I think people. I think there should be what people want, and I think people take either generally.
Class is no bigger than 25.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's not terrible. To be fair, I'd still say that's pretty big.
Well, it's just so a teacher can focus on an individual. I can go into education without yonks, but that's for another day.
Yeah. Well, education is complete rework. Most people's education comes from self-teaching and discovering things by themselves.
Education, the way we see it now, is terrible.
Yeah. Well, education we see now gets things like Antifa. Really, they're mostly educated. These people. It's crazy.
I think you'd have a smarter population if you closed all the schools down.
Now,
schools.
This thread is what I saw by when I said that I knew something was going to go down, and this was on the 18th of March. So this was before the riot itself. When was the 18th of March? That was Thursday.
It's a human right to protest. Human right to destroy a police station.
Yes. Basically, and it was all under the guise.
It's a human right. That's my Bernie. I can't really do Bernie.
Yeah, human right. Yeah. And it was all under the guise of hashtag kill the bill, which I mean, I guess we're going to have to mention this. That it's quite clear that it's a double entendre to kill police. I mean, I remember I was actually at work and someone was talking about it, and they were just really disgusted because it was for them and this is like Normieville.
Profoundly un-British in terms of they use the term kill.
Yeah,
we don't use such hard terms when we do big public appeals.
Stop the bill. The bill would be appropriate. Kill the bill. But the thing is, like, from Normieville,
it's from the American school of Antifa of rebellion.
Yeah,
most certainly.
But I noticed that from like Normieville, like at my place of work and family, from them that when they saw kill the bill, the first thing that they thought was, oh, they want to kill police officers. They're anti-police, which is
good. It means they understand that left wingers are now abolish police.
Yeah. I mean, and again that goes back into what I was saying about the reason why Bristol Mayor wanted to distance himself from these and actually condemn these people, because he inadvertently could be collectively grouped into this sort of diverse campaign coalition that we got here. So, I mean, first of all, you got XR Bristol.
They're quite militant for even for XR.
Yeah, and they've actually got like several law firms.
And they got a youth wing.
Yeah. And you got the anarchists, Lib Dems, which is doesn't surprise. I mean, that can't be a large contingent.
Lib Dems, right? You'd be very surprised. Depending on where you are, they basically become socialist very quickly.
Yeah,
Lib Dem now again. That's a party which will die.
Well deserved. I mean, I think
it's because they lost their identity entirely. When the Liberals joined the Social Democrats, which was the stupidest move I think in British political history. They lost the identity. They gave up their entire principles for seats, and now there is no liberal principle anymore. They were the ones meant to defend it. That history of the Liberal Party in Britain, gone, destroyed by them, and they're the reason we have Labour now.
Yeah, I mean they hold no liberal principles whatsoever.
To be fair, the Liberal Party, the demise of the Liberal Party in Britain is probably says you probably could tie a lot of what's happening in the modern world to the demise of the Liberal Party in Britain. Because if you think about because Britain was still on top of the world for a big period of the demise from Lloyd George onwards, and you can tie a lot of what happened to that, and because they kept losing the argument to the radicals and to Labour and to the Charterists, and they just couldn't contain it, and they lost it.
Yeah,
and then
you had Stanley Baldwin. I mean, he managed to get a good portion of the Liberal vote into the Conservative as well.
Well, yeah, the Tories took advantage of it then, and I think with Churchill's probably because Churchill himself being a Liberal at one point, easily absorbed the kind of the main remnants of the Liberal Party into the Conservatives.
Yeah,
it's odd though because it's funny how the opposite happened in Australia.
Yeah,
that's funny. So.
I think it's because Australia is Australia's really funny because Australia could have had an American style revolution, but it was avoided. I think it was avoided because it was allowed to have Dominion status at the right time.
And Australia was separate. Australia actually had a very quite turbulent formation because the Western Australia didn't want to join the Federation. And no one knew what to do with New Zealand as well. That was true.
Yeah.
But there's also, I think, what was keeping Australia about was the fact that I think, we unlike the Americans, we didn't allow Australia to stray independently, and we tied them in so hard to the mechanics of empire in terms of preferential trading. We made their farmers reliant upon British trade, instead, unlike the Americans, where they were given too much freedom. And that's what probably caused the distancing and then the eventual revolution. The same thing we did. We like with Canada. We had learned that lesson by that point when Canada was developing properly, and we prevented that as well. The one we failed with, I think, was South Africa, but that was mainly to do with the Dutch.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway,
I think it was because South Africa it was a Dutch colony pretty much, even when we took it over. But so go back to this. So again, a text was in. This was a text circulation. So presumably this was what was being texted to people, in the build up, was telling them Sunday. College Green, kill the bill. It's time for everyone to come together. Demand kill the police bill. It's stopped. We want top police state. Blah 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 blah. Usual stuff. And you can see in the language that they were tagging in or getting lawyers ready because they knew that what they were going to do would most likely require them to have lawyers for them afterwards, because I think this was the planning stage for them, because this was the final preparation stage, because they were, if you look at a lot of the conversations here, it was them tagging in lawyers. And which one do you have? You have the socialist lawyers. So this is the group that gets you in contact with legal firms across the country who represent protesters. There's one in Brighton, which I managed to find, which was representing several of them.
So why is it allowed? Why I thought part of being a lawyer, you shouldn't be allowed to be, if you're going to be explicitly political, should you allowed to be a lawyer?
I think that's Crown prosecutor. So if you work for the Crown, you can't. But lawyers and legal firms, I mean, in theory they can. It just, in the courtroom, they have to behave at the etiquette of that is required in the court. So
I think that you should have to behave in the etiquette of your profession, even outside the court. I think that used to be assumed.
I mean, if you're a lawyer and you break the law, then yes, you'll be struck off.
What I hate about French philosophy seeping in through the Americans is that in Britain we used to have so many assumptions about things that you just did. and they're all gone.
Yeah.
It's a tricky so. So yeah, this is what we've got. And then of course, like the final bit of legal notice. So this was March 21st. So this was, when was this? This was Sunday itself. So one would imagine probably just either after the protest or during it. They sent out one final tweet, which was
Dealing with the police.
business cards, and how to basically dealings with the police. And this again, this is the solicitors that they were using, the free legal advice that comes with it, advice on arrest. I do have to wonder if people were going to, if when it comes to their bail, if anyone was if they were going to be someone's going to be paying for bail, who would that be? I don't have any information on that. It would just be interesting to know, because there were a lot of people saying that could there be NGOs or similar things like within Portland going on, of people like Ben and Jerry's.
I wouldn't. There's definitely local businesses helping fund and supply things. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And there is money in there, but I don't think there's anything international. I don't think there's as international as, say, the American ones were.
Not yet, no.
But the interesting thing is that you don't. The thing about Bristol as well is, right, even though it does have an ethnic minority population, it's not as big as other areas of the country, other cities like Birmingham or Manchester. And I think that's evident to why it's a protest thing, because these are all, like we said, rogue students. And in city centres of other places, you don't have these. So only in Bristol could you get away with a proper American-style protest like this, because
riot
like this, because it's the right demographic for it.
Yeah,
considering
absolutely.
The rest of the country doesn't have that demographic in a city centre.
Yeah.
So again, if this was to be organised, that's another reason why you choose the location.
Now, this is what Hayran shared to me, which was the actual website of the People's Republic of Stokescroft.
I mentioned this.
And Owen, you mentioned this earlier. And this is something that I was just actually having looking through of it a second ago. And one of the first things I came across was the children's section for like the philosophy for children.
Oh God, no!
This is how this things like this are why I say this is Antifa. This is straight from Andy No's book.
Look at one of them. Look at one of the rules. Okay, that we got here. Suitable for children from the age of 3 upwards.
No parents allowed.
These sections are for children only. No parents allowed.
Yeah. So, and this type of thing will be run while the parents are at a self-defense class, or they're at a class for why racism's bad and why you should say white people.
This is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, it's pure indoctrination for both adults and kids.
It's a manufactory for radicals.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is perfectly normal. So this is the type of thing that parents would put their kids in, run by Antifa, while they're doing something else run by Antifa.
Such closeted retards to not see this sort of thing, to not look out and find these sort of things.
Because they've got about 1,000,001 other things to do. And
I know, but
too many people underestimate Antifa. They really do.
I think the People's Republic, they probably know how to make a good first contact. Cause I think about it like a cult, like the Jonestown cult, where they all moved out to Brazil and killed themselves, poisoned themselves. Way, if you actually look at a lot of their early footage and the promotional material, they come across as very friendly, wholesome, neighborhood sort of people. Who just wanted to do stuff in the community, and that's how they got it. Lawyers, doctors, people in society you would think would be the last people to fall for this sort of crap. And so they present themselves in one way, and then when they get you to go along to these functions, then they start the mask sort of starts to reveal itself. and what you have is you see the actual intent, and as you said, children will go off separately from the parents to be radicalized into Marxist theory from the age of 3 and upwards, and the parents will be off at self-defense classes or workshops how to deal with the police and other activism related causes, and then suddenly what you have is a cultist training camp for potential future riots. And that's what you have. And it makes you think, like, reading this, you do think that, number one, I don't think this is the last time we've seen violence this year in Bristol.
No,
I think there's more to come.
There's more to come ever across the country.
Some there, some in Brighton,
something
some
will
in
happen.
Liverpool.
Something will happen in summer again. It'll be picked up and bandwagoned, and all the normal stuff will happen. It's all organized, dude. It's all prepared. There's genuinely it's not an international. There's a group with links that are trying that they're because people go, oh, how can it be an international effort? And you just think about it. These people are communists. They come from the philosophy that generally had the international, which apparently just went away. Never went away.
No.
The international's still here. It's just working differently.
Yeah.
Maybe the international won, and that's what we're dealing with right now. We're fighting the international. Because you think about the people who found, again, tinfoil hat, ladies and gents. If you look at the people who founded the EU, many of them were members of the international, which is the Communist International, the third international, and then there was the fourth one. Yes,
and also you had the the Frankfurt School had also some sort of connection with the foundation of the EU as well.
Yeah, and I believe Blair's father was also international.
Oh yeah, and Blair was the thing that was I think Academic Agent probably explained it in quite in one of his recent streams. Blair was never a moderate. He pretended to be a moderate very successfully, but his policies throughout was as radical left as Corbyn would be. The difference was Corbyn was honest to the public about his intentions. Blair wasn't.
Yeah, and that, lots of people seem to realise that now. So lots of people. Well, this is why we don't want Blairism anymore, because we realise it's just Corbynism, but. Maybe hidden, covert Corbynism, I guess.
Yeah, covert Corbynism. I mean, effectively, yes. And one of the things, like reading Andy No's book, you hear that how Antifa managed to get hold in the community, where, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier, Owain. Stokescroft has and that sort of part of Bristol has a high homeless population, very high, and also has a very high drug epidemic as well. So
extremely well. Bristol in general has that problem.
Yeah, it's got a huge amount of problem. And so what you have, and I've actually seen these people out about in Bristol where they will take food or get people and open up sort of this before the pandemic, like stores where they could come and get food locally. And so I do think that you can see how people could fall in, especially if they are desperate, how they can fall into.
Well, if you have nothing else going on in your life, what are you going to do? And you know your life's shit, but you're going to have to blame someone. So who do you blame? And that's it explains a lot, doesn't it? These people haven't. These people aren't afraid of consequence because it's better than what they got.
Yeah, and then the people who were only being kind to you in that situation where they, the thing though is they are not, while they'll be kind to you as in they give you food, but at the same time they're not being kind to you because they're indoctrinating you with a false sense of reality, a false sense of history, and a really warped version of philosophy, and then you come to irrational decisions like, let's go down and torch a police station, let's smash up cars of members of the public who are either visitors of their child in hospital or staff at the hospital. This sort of thing. Normal people, you would, as a normal person, I think every other person would be, you wouldn't do it. You would, and even if you did it, you would feel elements of guilt, because you would be thinking to yourself, what sort of pain have I inflicted on these people? But these people don't think like that. And fundamentally, I've been thinking, what is solution to this long term? And I think it has to come down to the government making an Antifa and all these groups within Bristol domestic terrorist organizations. And you have to find these people and put them through programs of de-radicalization, because I just don't see another way out of this.
Yeah, they've been radicalized. That is true. But they would say the same. They would say exactly the same to us, wouldn't they? They'd say we need to go for a program of de-radicalization. And what is needed, really? I think it's easier for us to red pill than it is. It's okay. I'm trying to think through it here now. I'm trying, because like the way they blue pill in terms of they indoctrinate and stuff like that. I'm trying to think, how do red pill en masse? Because I think you don't need to reschool them. You just need to get the pill in, yeah.
Right.
The thing
that phrase, though,
it's such a monoculture of leftism that if you're being brought up in that environment and then you step out of that environment, if any of these people travelled into my part of Somerset and they see the culture there, all they would see is white, racist, supremacist bigots.
Well, this is it. This is the irony of what they're doing, right? Is it sustainable? It's probably not. Can you imagine the weak people who will be coming out of their indoctrination camp? The caliber of child.
What do you mean by weak?
As in,
this is the thing.
Their ability to discuss.
Okay, so you mean intellectually, right?
Intellectual ability. Their physical ability won't be great either.
No. Their physical ability is surprising. They do self-defense classes. They do training exercises. They take over gyms basically and encourage everyone to go and basically get buff. They are surprisingly athletic, and this is what Andy No says in his book. He gets really annoyed with that misconception that physically they're soy boys and things like that. Nah, you have people who gave Andy No a brain hemorrhage, beat other people up, kill people. They will kill when necessary, but they know it's bad optics essentially. So they're actually pretty good at avoiding it as well.
If you look at, I'll just try and find some of the Bristol riot footage. But if you, the hardcore group that are actually attacking the police officers, which is, if you look at them, I wouldn't say that they are.
These are also big. They're also, a lot of them are alcoholics and mega drug takers.
Oh yeah, most of them probably, if they weren't in the group, wouldn't be much of a contender. But this this is the thing, when you have like 1,000 of them, because we think there was about 1,000 there who were committing the violence,
right,
against 50 police officers, then it's
they put the narrative in and say, no, it was just a small group that split off from the large demonstration. No, it was the demonstration.
It was demonstration. In fact, if you look at I'm just going to share the footage of most of the demonstration went to the police station. There was a small group at the College Green, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a smaller group at the College Green than it was at the police station.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know this bill exists. So why is there such a hit against it? Because they organised it. They organised it as a front for the police station. Yeah,
they did. Most of them. Again, I wouldn't say that they are. It's really hard to tell, because obviously this is Black Bloc here. So these people here they're the ones who are doing the more violent attacking, burning, everything else. And these are the people who are, I mean, I would say physically are probably in a condition where they could inflict serious damage. I wouldn't say they're like weaklings or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the guy who is being accused of attempted murder because there were police officers in the van. He's trying to light it, set it afire.
There's more of it.
Yeah, some more.
Did you see the video of someone on the black block getting a picture taken when he's on the front of a burning police car, and then he tries to get off and just slips off and falls?
Yeah,
that was amazing.
I saw that rounds, yeah. And
kill the bill.
Kill the bill. Yeah, this is Extinction. This is Extinction Rebellion youth. So this is like the other.
Oh yeah, they're all interlinked really. Extinction Rebellion are more the let's say peaceful side. They're the ones that just want to disrupt and annoy.
Because they feel they're more middle classy.
Yeah. Well, Antifa's middle class really. It's just not well integrated tendencies. Look at this.
I mean, overall, I would say that these people were pretty much hell bent on doing. I mean, because the police officer said that they brought weapons with them, which, from what I can see, there does seem to be elements of them that brought like metal bars, which again, Portland Antifa. There is a striking echo of Portland Antifa with all these lots.
Yeah, they'll have weapons. Oh yeah, they'll hide it, but they'll have them. They'll have fireworks and shit. Go on.
And they, I mean, obviously, we all have to wear masks now, so that hasn't helped the situation because all of them just turn up wearing masks. Can't be identified.
Yeah, I mean, even if that wasn't mandated, obviously they'd still wear them. But
well, yeah, they would. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you are right. This is the first riot of many, and it's also probably going to be the least rioty and violent. Although I think news came out today, some leftist rag tried to say, police lied about officers having broken bones and stuff like that. As far as I'm aware, as far as the officers were concerned, they were going to hospital to check for broken bones. It's like, they've got suspected broken bones and punctured
one
lungs.
of them had the reason why I think is one of them had a collapsed lung, so they thought, maybe his ribs are broken.
Yeah, it basically turns out that no, they didn't have any broken bones or punctured lungs. Which to me, I'm just like, fair enough. Like, thank God for that. But loads of leftists and Antifa are trying to say now, look at the pigs lying and all this to excuse a overreaction.
Well, that's a good guitar shop as well, PMT.
Yeah. God, stop. Is it taking you back to uni?
I'm just doing some Street View lookup through Stokes Croft right now.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you've got exciting news for your old uni city. Mine just my old uni is just encouraging women to be prostitutes and taking out Chaucer from the English curriculum. Go on.
I just want to say, I mean, talk about colonialism, right? This guy here, you probably can't hear him. He's American.
Told you.
Oh well, I'm not surprised.
Told you, Americans are everywhere in Bristol, dude.
Yeah, he's American. He says, "I'm tired of being peaceful. I'm tired of being calm. This is they've been going to war on us for the last 400 years. Blah 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 blah."
Who's us?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know what world. I mean, I think Scientologists at this point are more cohesive and have more sense than these people at this point. It's not something I expected to ever say, but...
Oh, no. Oh, well, Scientologists make more sense than the French revolutionaries, to be fair. Their beliefs are coherent. It just doesn't, why do they believe in aliens coming to Earth?
One thing in Stokes Croft I'll never get, there's a giant Welsh dragon on one of the buildings there, and I don't understand why.
I don't understand that either.
I mean, Bristol It's Bristol, not border, but it's near Wales, isn't it?
There's a lot of Welsh in Bristol. There's a
Yeah,
lot of Welsh in Bristol.
I'd say Rory Herbert. I did know the chairman was named William Was. I know the current chairman quite well. I don't know that chairman. I met him once beforehand at a dinner function. He seemed like a relatively decent guy. We talked about local matters at the time, about changing up the local council structure.
Oh God, I knocked it down. Christ, sorry.
Not what down?
The tram shed.
Oh no.
I'm just going through it because, like I was saying, okay, they're desperately trying to there's a lot of forces at work desperately trying to gentrify Stokescroft.
Yeah.
And whether it'll work is a different question. But what will happen is that if they do get away with it, you'll probably see a lot of this move to another area of the city.
You see, I think Clifton could be targeted as the next point.
In terms of, it's going to move to the student area, so it's probably going to move further up Gloucester Road.
Well, you see, I don't know, because I think Clifton, because the reason I think is, number one, there's several university properties up there, but also there's a lot of old links to the slavery up there with the variant merchant homes as well.
Oh, the entire thing.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It was built by that money,
Yeah, that's why I think it's going to be moving up that way.
I'm surprised Queen Square has been left unchallenged.
HCAB.
Yeah, ACAB's seen everywhere. If you also see, if you ever see the numbers 1312, that's a dog whistle for ACAB because of the alphabet and numbers. So, A1 and all that. Because there's a few like kind of private clubs in or basically places that were kind of locked up and you needed to know a code to get into. Basically, their code was usually 1312, just a dog whistle. That so.
And they use encryption, like when they communicate, because this thing, if you want to join Bristol Antifa, they do actually have like a period where they do background research into you, do like an interview and everything. It's not like this is the thing, because again, people don't understand it here. It's not like, oh, you can just walk in off the street and join them. They do background research into you, and if you get in, you're in.
Yeah, this is the thing. Tactically, they're actually really smart. Politically, they're retarded. So it's in Andy No's book again. Do read Unmasked. It's very useful and it's not very long. Or get the audiobook, Owen, since you're dyslexic.
I've got the audiobook, so it's really good.
Yeah. So someone from Project Veritas who, for obvious reasons, never revealed who he was, infiltrated Antifa for about 6 months. When he got his initial email saying, you're being considered, they basically told him, here's a load of encryption software and encrypted messaging services, things like that. Download them all and get used to them. It's how we communicate so that, the fuzz don't get us. And so for 6 months he was there. He went to the meetings with them. They were all, ideologically insane, just pure critical race theory, pure Marxism, pure all this and that. They all say, if you've got kids, we've got like a daycare center, whatever. That's obviously what we saw before. They'll just indoctrinate them. Yeah, it's crazy. And then after 6 months, you get voted on. It has to be, 100% vote from whoever's doing the vote that you have to be let in. He failed at that part just because he wouldn't get involved in the violence on the streets for obvious reasons. So they didn't think he was serious about joining Antifa, so that's why he didn't get in. But this is the type of thing, like, he did pretty well to be covert and get in and learn all this stuff. And the reason he couldn't go any further was because he wasn't violent enough. So, that's what Antifa are like. But read the book, it goes into a lot more detail. Yeah.
And also like the tactics, like how there's small groups that go around and they stretch the police resources to the breaking point, which I think Bristol will do, because there was a former constable in who was on Talk Radio. He was saying that he believes from officers on the ground who were communicating with him, their main concern is if they target that police station again, but also other police stations, they will be overwhelmed completely. and they wouldn't be able to operate in certain parts of the city, which then would fall to the radical mob. So I mean, yeah. I think it's safe to assume that if there is going to be like a Chaz chop, it's going to be in Stokescroft, and it's going to be like the launch, and then from there it'll be Launchpad. They'll Launchpad like demos and other things around the city, because Stokescroft is pretty much central into the city centre.
Well, can you get the map up again? I think I can tell you where I think they'll do it. Though I don't live in Bristol, so I can't guarantee. But if we're basing it off the Seattle Chaz, I reckon it'll be near the park in the middle, because they took over quite a big park in Chaz, and it'll be the residential and business area around.
They'll take over Castle Park.
Not all of it. Well, maybe all of it. I don't know.
I don't know if they'd take Castle Park. It'd be a bit difficult for them to do that.
Are there any smaller parks?
There are small parks there. There's a few.
Yeah.
But there'll be a park wherever they take over, and it will be more city centre, because the 6 blocks that were the Chaz were pretty central. Capitol Hill's a pretty central district. So I can imagine it's similar for this.
Owen's link.
PDF.
It's got the maps, because I can't find any maps.
They could take over Queen Square. I don't know. It's too far away from them.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere near Stokecroft, because Stokecroft is the Antifa district from the looks of it. It looks mental.
Left wing cult.
So he had a satellite one, I think. If you go down, there it is. So yeah, I mean, maybe that park's a bit big, but I reckon you see the Bear Pit squatter area.
Yeah.
That would be the, assuming up north, that'll be the northwest corner, and it'll take over, I reckon, the district going to just under the E in Squatter, and then it'll go all the way down to city centre to the.
I think they'll just do it in Stokescroft itself. They'll set up properly checkpoints.
No. They won't do it in their own area. They didn't do it in their own area.
I think they will want to have access to the water.
Maybe that as well, yeah.
Because the thing is, they will, because if say they do like a siege mentality, they need access to water, even if they are, and like farm. Do you remember like the infamous Chaz farming?
If only you knew how bad things really were.
But they might use traveller tactics and just rock up one day somewhere and just park on there.
Yeah, well, that's basically what the Chaz was.
There's also now this park over here, which is out.
There were a bunch of travellers parked on College Green. Didn't they do that?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Oh God.
Thank God the Tories have put in the law to not allow that riffraff anymore.
Yeah.
Send them back.
I mean, you got a big, fairly sizable park over this way, which I walked through it, and it's actually elevated, so it's like
Brandon Hill, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's elevated, so when you walk up there, it's actually quite elevated. So if you built like a Chaz up there, you would be like
far too posh to get away with up there.
I don't know, because it's still quite close to the city centre and Colston, around that area.
Dude, let me see. It's too close to the cathedral.
Oh, I see. I don't know, 'cause again, University District around here. It's easy to walk back and forth.
And it won't be towards Clifton. It would be. It could be in the St. Paul's area, but like I don't know, dude. It's only speculative.
Yeah, exactly. This sort of speculation.
I mean,
more.
I think personally, if I was to absolutely guess, I would say it's probably in this block. Sorry, you can't see it on my thing. I think it's in this block area here, roughly.
Yeah, I reckon. I reckon it's a bit closer to Stokescroft, where Bear Pit's the northwest of it. But
remember that in Portland, they actually did take over the the police precinct was
True.
part of the Chaz Chop itself. So I mean, I think ambition-wise, they'd probably want like this whole area here. In reality, I think they might just get
The bet pit.
around this park here.
I honestly think they're just going to have the bet pit.
It could, yeah, it could do. It's just that they
I
do
think
like
they'd already
to
have
congregate at the city park.
It's been in like almost no tournament zone for years. The bet pit.
Yeah.
But I also the city park. There's a bombed out church, isn't there?
Bless
Oh
me.
the old church. The city park is the remnants of the old city centre of Bristol, which got bombed out in the war.
War, yeah, because the old church there is it's quite a good fortified position if you really wanted it to be, because there's a lot of cover from trees, there's a lot of cover from buildings and actually from the property itself. So I mean, and also they do like to hang out here. A lot of them.
Yeah, they do. But as soon as you cross that river, it's a different world, and I don't think people across the river will allow that to happen.
No.
Because so in Bristol, the river is a big separating line in a way that if you cross the river, it's all offices. It gets very professional.
Yeah.
On the south side of the river.
But also, I mean, there's another thing we didn't. Now up here,
Then you get cross it south again, and doesn't, and then it turns. You got Southville, which is completely different again.
But could they take over Cabot Circus though? That's another thing they could take over.
They could. It's really easy to fortify because it's, you got small entrances, narrow entrances.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would do. And then, of course, to the back of them, if they fortify Cabot, they've got the many streets of St. Paul's to the back here.
Yeah,
that they could melt away into. So,
I mean, I think a more interesting topic in terms of if they make a Chaz there is how would like the mayor react? How would the police react? Would they do what they did with the Chaz and basically help them fortify their position with concrete barricades?
So this is it, right? The UK establishment is not as readily going to help these guys as the Democrats did in the States.
No.
So this is why it'll probably fall on its face quite quickly. And the people in the UK won't support it as well. The UK is not. The general public is not very disposed to this sort of thing, and in the UK there is still a very strong sentiment of betraying. You'll find that treason in the UK. There's a lot of people who still believe treason should be a capital offence.
Yeah.
That's quite a common one. You look at Begum, So declaring your own independent state is a tantamount to that, and immediately there will be people calling for armed guards, calling for army-like disposal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just an ejection of the Chaz. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be like, get it done. God, sometimes you imagine Thatcher was in charge at this period of time. They would be shut down in such a heartbeat. It'd be amazing.
Oh yeah,
it would be get the heel out, dig it in.
Yeah,
and all the like Harwoods and the people on Twitter who sort of who are Proseccos basically, but always love to like quote and mention Thatcher every time they get. If she was around today, she would absolutely fucking castigate them.
Yeah.
And she would hate them, and they would hate her as well.
Yeah.
You would not be able to.
And she'd be reveling in that.
I should be reveling in that. She'd be like, Antifa, communists, we must destroy them.
Yeah.
I say, Joz has just asked me the question, is it... do the police take volunteers help?
Not in the UK.
Bring my old hockey stick. I mean, we haven't got to the right-wing death squad.
But technically, the your queen, the queen can still call you up to duty as a militia. She still has that.
Oh my God! Please.
I am a member of the Somerset militia. I am a member.
Yeah, and Somerset, they do. There are certain counties do still have their own militias.
Yeah, we still have our own militias. So I mean, like,
right.
If I do I need to water the tree of liberalism? Okay.
Right. So, Queen Liz, right? If you're listening, I will follow any order you give me. Any order.
Is that including stay at home?
I see. Well, yeah. Apparently, you got me there.
Can I get letters of marking? Yeah.
Just invoke something really ancient. Like I love it in Britain, so you can invoke really ancient things, and they can't really argue because their only argument is, well, that was a really long time ago. It's just like it's technically still legal.
But that's what the Black and Tans were. They were just a militia in that sort of way.
Yeah, and it's like, isn't it? Like it's like I guess you can't invoke Magna Carta sadly anymore for some reason, which is dumb. Sadly, but as a Protestant, I have a right to bear arms. Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, a Catholic's still not allowed?
No.
Well, I do think that the slippery slope.
As a Welshman, I have a right to a longbow as well.
Yeah. Oh God. And any Norwegian who approaches within 25 miles of shoreline, I can legally take out.
Nice.
I do think though that the slippery slope was the emancipation of Catholics in England and the UK.
Damn right.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
I mean, I don't think we should have allowed them to vote and serve in the military.
Yeah. Well, no, not yet.
Have you heard that they want to get rid? Have you heard that really odd thing about the kind of allowing Catholics into the monarchy?
Yeah,
like that was being drummed up this week. That was really weird. I was just like,
that was by Guido Fawkes, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
dude, shut up, you paused.
The reason why it's pretty self-evident. Like the monarch is the defender of the faith, and the defender of the faith is Anglicanism. So, or Protestantism.
I know Anglicanism's virtually dead, but like, come on.
Well, it's well, yeah, and
Gambling used to wish would be absolutely horrifying.
And they're all agnostic.
Look at Anglicanism. It's a real big joke right now.
Yeah, I mean, it needs a serious like. I mean, you need
the equivalent of an anti-pope.
We need sort of like a Henry VIII sort of move to sort of just sack all the monasteries and churches and restart again. At this point. But yeah, I mean.
Anyway.
Yeah, he was complaining. Guido Fawkes complaining that the monarchy isn't Catholic enough.
What is up with that bloody news thing? It's like sometimes they're like, oh, okay, you're saying this, you're like, yeah, it's all right. But then the next thing they say is like, oh yeah, Catholics in the monarchy. It's like, what are you trying to conserve?
It's a Catholic newspaper. That's probably why.
Oh yeah, he's called Guido Fawkes, isn't he?
Yeah, he was Catholic and he tried to blow up the Parliament.
Get all papists must go.
I'm just saying, right? So
Papist Ireland, please.
The papists can be jealous of the Anglicans because you get guns, but you're jealous of us because we actually tried. We're the last people to go into Parliament with good intentions. Prove me wrong.
How's handing the crown of England from a natural born British monarch to the King of Spain, Hayran? How is that?
Guido Fawkes is Jacobean infiltration into the Tory party. I'm telling you.
Well, AI. I will put it this way: we didn't do that, and now we've got leftists everywhere in government, including in the Tory party.
I'm sorry, but I need to refer back to the Spanish. Literally, if you want to play out leftism, Spain is like an absolute cesspit of it.
They got rid of Franco, who was a Catholic.
If all of this turns out to be a Jacobean plot to reinstate the monarchy, I swear to God.
God.
I swear to God, I'm gonna invoke the right of my ancestor.
Well,
and it won't be pretty.
I mean, I'm getting more pro dictatorship, Cromwellian dictatorship as time goes on. At this point,
we need a Catholic dictatorship.
Oh no! That sounds gay in Spanish and French. It's like, oh no, get away from me.
Britain's at its best when it hates Europe.
I do. Yeah. Oh, I agree. Oh, don't here. I say all this. I'm doing it to trigger you.
Hates Europe. I say when it doesn't deal with European problems. Ugh. Leave it to the continent. We're busy.
Dear.
Right, we're probably going to wrap this up now because
Yeah, fair.
we're just getting into sectarianism at this point. I don't want the stream to be. All the stuff we discussed. I don't want the stream to be cancelled because I'm dunking on the Catholics too much.
Oh no, we are prime target number one for we're the most acceptable target, I think.
No, not anymore. The Arabs, because obviously Arabs are now white people. If you didn't know.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
American left.
That's it. Hogg is leading the Jacobean infiltration of the Tory party.
Oh, God damn it! No, because I'm. Okay, well, if that's the case, if he wins, I'm just gonna do like a fucking Hitler in the bunker. I'll just blow my brains out, and that's done with it.
A self forever sleep. You can't say the S word.
I will declare myself King of Wales.
You're going to get absolutely wrecked by me when I'm King of Catholic England. Which was happening in CK2. But we're starting a new game on Sunday.
I'm going to reform. I'm going to create my own religion in that game, and I'm going to Brexit out of the
we are way off topic now.
I'm going to play some CK3 after this now.
Dude, I wish we could do it in CK3, but these lads are just like, oh, we got to do CK2.
I know that's so
CK3.
CK3 can create your own religion, dude.
Yeah,
I know.
I mean, the funniest religion is like Adamism. It's like they're just all naked, like nudist, incest people. It's like, I do like playing also the Zoroastrian, like a Zoroastrian lord underneath like a Islamic emir. That's also quite good.
Yeah. This is off topic.
This is very off
topic now. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. So yeah, Antifa, Bristol, bunch of Americanized tossers, middle class tossers, probably cult-like as well. Some of them. Government get on it. Hunt them down, defeat them, destroy them, wipe them out. Even the children, even the younglings. Yes.
Whoa no.
Yeah. Imagine like Carrie Simmons just saying, "I've heard terrible things, Boris. That you've killed younglings."
Was it in Bristol? Boris was called a tosser, and he just called him a lefty wanker.
Yeah, he just called him a lefty wanker.
Amazing. I'm glad he's our PM. Apart from the rest of it.
Old Boris would have been a great PM. New Boris, I don't know, not so much. Not so much.
He's not been the same since he caught COVID.
No, he hasn't.
I think he's been like. I think I either like that he's affected by like that long COVID or whatever it's been called, or like he's been like medicated by the by his wife. I have a theory that she's basically feeding him something that is just making him really dull and boring because he just doesn't seem to be really with it, if that makes sense. He just doesn't nothing
he's
there.
Probably really dejected because this is not what he expected.
I don't know, because he could just be absolutely based as hell, and it's just not he could just turn around and say, I'm now making Antifa it's equivalent to National Action, which is a neo-Nazi thing. I'm banning it, and if you're a member of it, whether you're in local government or not, you'll be in prison. Something like that. He could do, but it's ever since Dominic Cummings left, it's gone downhill.
That's it. So now we're stuck with the usual suspect of the civil service in charge.
Yeah, and he's hired a Guardianista as his the replacement. So yeah.
Speaking of, laughing at the Guardians on Saturday.
Yep. Check that out.
Yeah.
And Owen, have you got anything to show coming up?
We've got CK2 next Sunday.
Are we streaming that?
We are streaming it.
I might make that my first stream on my super secret second channel that I'm gonna start.
Yeah, you can stream it from your end.
Yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. I'll stream it on my end as well, so people have different views or whatever they want to play with.
Yeah.
And I also just did a show on Georgian architecture, Georgian country homes, and stuff like that. That was pretty good. If you want to go and watch that, ladies and gents. And as well, I think you're on the next episode of Foundations podcast, are you not?
Yeah,
I believe you want to come on
actually did
and Bristol. Ironically,
yeah, because I studied actually the city planning of with history in Bath in particular, especially during the Roman and Saxon period.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're doing a whole show on Bath and Bristol, I think. So 2 hours. So obviously I know a lot about. Yeah, Karen.
I was going to say, when's that show? Actually, I was going to need to ask.
Week Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to doing that as well. I love Bath. Bath's a very nice place. Yeah, so ladies and gents, please join us for that.
There's interesting geology about Bath as to why it was very good for its baths. Yeah. But yeah, that's
I'm so glad Bath hasn't fallen to Antifa yet. If they ever touch anything in the Roman baths, I would literally drive down there in my full Boogaloo Somerset militia outfit. I would not be joking at that point.
It's like, what was it? I saw something the other day, and I said, I think, like, do you want to see the British do a boog? This is how you get the British to do a boog.
Yeah.
And it was, God, what was it? What was it? It was something. Oh no, what was happening? Oh, it was something, a story in the news, and I just said, I just got reminded of that Freedom Tunes thing of Ben Shapiro and is it, and what's the fake Spanish guy from the Democrat primaries trying to take his gun?
Oh yeah.
And he's in the treehouse, and he just goes, "You want to see the boogaloo, folks? I'll show you the boogaloo." All right, folks.
But yeah. Yeah.
No way, Les Brown.
I'm so glad that they're not going to touch the Roman statues. That's a guarantee on my part, at least. I say if you want to see AI Shia Tory in real life, you'll see him on the 9 o'clock news. I guess.
Oh, poor Shia.
Jokes, everyone, not real. All in Minecraft server.
I give up, man.
Portland Stone. What's that, Rory Herbert?
Portland.
Oh,
I know about a moose or something that gets.
We need it. I think we should.
It's a type of limestone, I think.
It is.
It is a type of limestone.
Oh, it's type of limestone.
Near to London, it's what they build things out. It's a common Georgian material.
Oh.
But Bath itself is but a Bath stone, obviously.
Bath stone, very unique. Even the new buildings are built with Bath stone, so not to the same quality, but
no, not at all. Have you seen that Hilton Hotel?
Yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah, it's the cenotaph in Whitehall is made of the Portland stone.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, don't know too much about it personally. I just know it's a type of limestone. So you put some hydrochloric acid on the cenotaph, you'll be burning a bit of it or dissolving a bit of it. So,
shall we sign off?
Yeah, we'll sign off now. I think we've gone completely.
You got me onto stones.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. Check out the channels below because there's obviously a lot of other good content creators out here like Jaws and Cringe Walker and all the other. I've forgotten names now. And who else did I include? Oh, you just go check them out. You'll see them. Yes. And also Owine, your channel's on there, and Foundation Podcasts, and I think Pharaoh's channel's in there somewhere. So yeah, go check out the links below, and smash that like button, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And good night.
Good night, guys.
See you later.